Hey, welcome everyone. I'm David Pritchard, and we have Lori Falk and Ray Jetton here with us as well as panelists. We are Healy board members, and we are here to share with you all about Healy, what it is, what it does. I want to start at the very beginning really quick just so you understand what frequency is, because when I first heard about the Healy, a good friend of mine that's a holistic doctor reached out to me and said, you gotta hear about this thing. Here's this little Healy thing. And I did not know anything about frequency and energy. I had heard of a Rife machine. Maybe some of you have heard of that. And but she had to explain to me. And basically the idea is every cell in our bodies is a little tiny power plant. It's an electrical power plant. It's energy. And every cell has a specific frequency that is the ideal frequency of the resonance of that cell. Nikola Tesla had said, if you want to understand the secrets to the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And that's what every cell is. And everything is energy and frequency, we're learning. So if you can put energy in at the specific frequency that's the ideal frequency of a cell, or even a thought or an emotion or a brainwave, you can cause a positive change. You can move from a present state towards a desired state, for instance. Albert Einstein had also said, the future of medicine will be the medicine of frequencies. So they understood this concept. And one way that a lot of people will think about this is if you take two violins, you just set one on the other side of the room and you start bowing the G string on one violin, the other one that's just sitting on the other side of the room, that G string will start to vibrate and resonate because it shares a resonant frequency. So the same thing, the Healy, we're putting resonant frequencies into our body in three different forms: microcurrent, with a Tesla coil, and with radionics, or through the quantum field. And we are able to resonate energy into the body and have a positive effect, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, any realm, basically, we can do that. So that just is the basic concept of what frequencies are, so that you know where we're heading when we explain what the Healy is. So I'm going to let Ray come on board here. And Ray, could you share your story and then also share with us the background of Healy and time waiver and such? Thanks, Ray.
All right, I was finishing typing a message here. Sorry about that. Yeah, my name is Ray Jetton. My daughter and I work together with Healy, and we're in central Missouri, the Columbia, Missouri area. And we found out about Healy about 2 years ago. Interestingly enough, my son, who was 15 at the time, had a very fast major growth spurt, and he grew so fast. He grew about 6 inches in 8 months, and he was in a lot of pain. It pained you to watch him walk. He couldn't run. He was trying to play soccer, and we were concerned. We tried to spend some money to get him fixed. We took him to chiropractors, massage therapists, so forth, and nothing worked. And we headed out for vacation, and met up with some of my best friends in the whole world, and they had just purchased a Healy. They'd only had it for maybe a week, and it had only been in the US market at that point for about 3 months. So they really didn't know how to use it, and they were just customers. They said, hey, it's from Germany, and it's cleared by the FDA for chronic and acute pain. Let's hook him up and see what it'll do. And I said, absolutely, we will try anything at this point. And they hooked him up and ran about a 20-minute pain program on him. And 2 hours later, the kid's walking normal. And my wife says, oh my gosh, I got to have one of those. We had one ordered before we ever got back to Missouri. And, I'm kind of a mess myself. I've had diabetes since I was 16 years old, and always blood sugar issues and energy levels up and down all the time. And, so I've been looking for something to help, give some resolve to some of those issues as well. And I fiddled with this thing quite a lot and was accused by my wife of being the Healy hog, because I always had it. She came home one day and she was complaining about something, and I fix problems. So I said, why don't you run a scan and do a program? She puts her hand on her hip and gives me the pointer finger and says, how do you expect me to do that? You're the darn Healy hog. So at that point, I realized that I was taking too much control of this little device, and she needed one because I certainly didn't want to give up mine, right? So we've had a lot of fun with this, watching what it has been able to do in our family with pain, with hormones, with blood sugar issues, you name it. It seems like it's really just made a difference for my family as a whole, and that led us to sharing with some other people. So when I found out that my wife was upset with me for being the Healy hog, I reached out to try to find out, how do I buy another one of these things, and got plugged into to a guy named Les, and he said, Ray, if you're going to buy another one of these devices, then you need to get signed up as a member, because there's a fast start opportunity where you can earn another device for free. So we did buy a second device for her because we just couldn't wait. This thing is so amazing. But he said, share it with 3 people, which I figured, well, I better share it with 6 or 10, just to make sure that I did get those 3 sold so that I could get a free device. Well, all 6 of them were interested in what this thing could do, and they wanted to help other people. When I told them that I didn't care if they wanted one of these, but they would know somebody that we could help, they said, sure, I'd be interested in knowing about this. And what happened was, when we did a scan for them, it showed up what they resonated with. They already knew that stuff was going on in their body, and they said, how did it know that? I said, well, I don't know, I'm not the quantum physicist, but every one of them said, I got to have one of those. And so not only did I earn a free extra device, but we earned some income with it too, and it was pretty substantial income, enough to take a deeper look at the business side of this thing. And that's why we do this full time now. But in the process of studying this and being, I'm a businessman, so I had to look at the structure of the company and find out what was the background of this. Well, the owner turns out to be a quantum physicist. His name is Marcus Schmika. He's partnered with a multi-billionaire named Christian Halper. Marcus is also a monk, and it was interesting to find out that one of his desires was to tie spiritual or science with spirituality, which with this thing, he's really done a great job at it. But this is a scaled down version of the $40,000 device that they make with Time Waver. So Time Waver is the manufacturer of the Healy, and they sell larger devices that actually sit on the practitioner's desk, and they plug into a computer, and then they have these brass probes that you hold on to and keep your hands moist for the conductivity, but then they can read it on the computer screen. And I've actually experienced using one of those devices through a practitioner that I met 5 or 6 years ago. And I was really intrigued with how it knew that I was type 1 diabetic, and that I had a low thyroid, and that I had E. coli and bacteria in my system, and that I also dealt with depression and anxiety, probably like most business owners. But I was really intrigued with how it could read all of that. And when I went to look at how do I purchase one of those larger devices, I was thinking, oh my gosh, there's no way I can afford $40,000 for a device. and then have to spend another $15,000 to fly to Germany and get trained and pay the licensing fees and everything else. So then it was fast forward 3 years where I found out about the Healy. And so they developed the Healy for the practitioner. They launched it to the practitioners in 2017. Well, they found out reasonably fast that practitioners weren't great at selling. However, it did offer the ability to use this as an extension to their care in their office. So they could offer these to their clients, but they weren't moving as fast as they needed to. So in 2019, they decided to flip this around into more of the social selling arena, where people like you and me could offer this to our friends and family, not only get resolved for ourselves, but with what we do here in the US market, I found a big need in the practitioners' offices that, don't want to afford or don't want to pay for that extra training with those larger practitioner devices. So we have numerous chiropractors and massage therapists and physical therapists, dietitians, occupational therapists, psychotherapists, you name it. If it's related to therapy, they need to take a serious look at what the Healy can do to enhance their practice and extend their care to their clients. So we've just had a lot of fun with this, David and Lori, and my daughter Riley and I are so blessed to get to work with people like you guys, and the rest of the board. We look forward to what direction Healy has for us.
Yes. And we heard some really cool speeches today about that in a little bit, and some updates since first of the month and so on. That was cool. What I really would like to point out about the Healy and its relationship to Time Waver is that Time Waver has been around about 15 years, and they have been able to develop these amazing frequency program sets. They figure out what frequencies work for circulation, and it's not just one frequency like the old Rife machine would have. It's multiple frequencies and harmonics of frequencies, and there's lots of math and Pythagorean theorems and all sorts of stuff going on because it's quantum physics. And so what's wonderful about the Healy is this is a consumer device. It's affordable. We can all use it. And the goal is that in the next 10 years, 100 million people would own a Healy. That's what Healy would like, because it'll make a huge impact on the planet. So what's so cool is that these incredible frequency program sets that have been developed on Time Waver and are proprietary to Time Waver are in the Healy, and we can have access to those. And Lori, why don't you come on and tell your story and your passion as far as Healy is concerned?
Well, I'm really on fire because I talked to Adriana for 2 hours before this and shared with her more in depth about my passion. So I found out about biofeedback, which is essentially what we're talking about here, 25 years ago, in the middle of having major depressive disorder. And we're talking the kind that just knocks you out on your back on the couch for a year and your world falls apart around you kind of depression. So not just having a bad day. And of course, I went into the traditional medical model and was given all kinds of antidepressants, probably about a half a dozen in 6 months. And nothing was really working. And this went on for a couple of years. And finally, I actually, through the grace of God, met a holistic practitioner, a naturopath who had the QXCI, which is a predecessor of the Time Waver, different company, but essentially the same thing. And she did a scan on me, and she looked at me and she said, "Have you ever been in an accident?" And I said, "Yes, I was hit by a truck in New York City in my late 20s, and the truck hit me in the neck." And she said, "Well, that's what I was wondering about, is the neck." Because she said the biofeedback scan is showing that your C1 through C3 vertebrae are completely compressed. Well, why is that a bad thing? Because what we now understand about mental illness and neurotransmitters, most of the neurotransmitters get made in your gut. Mine couldn't get up the spinal column into my brain because the injury, the pain of that I was experiencing contracted the muscles and compressed the vertebrae. Now, if I hadn't ever had that biofeedback scan, I don't even know if I'd be here today. Literally, biofeedback saved my life. Now, the thing about biofeedback is it's around anywhere from $150 to $300 a session, depending on the time, the location, whatever. So how many of those sessions could you actually have in a month? I was lucky if I got one in, because I was also doing chiropractic and cranial, etc. You get a Healy or two, and you can run multiple sessions every day. So flash forward to April 28th of 2020, I got a call from a friend, and she said, you need to hear about this Healy device. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to hear about anything else. I'm an artist, I'm a life coach, I'm a health and wellness coach. I've got plenty on my plate. And then she started describing it. And I said, that sounds like a QXCI, AKA a time waiver. And she said, I hadn't thought about it. I said, well, it's doing exactly the same thing and it's working in real time. What? David's going to show you how that happens in a few minutes. And it's amazing because back then these scans would get done and then they would send corrective frequencies to rebalance you, but they were working off of an original scan. The Healy actually sends frequencies and receives information back from your information field and adjusts the program constantly the entire time that the programs are running. So I signed up for Healy in about 5 minutes, because once I knew that I could have this in my home and work on myself and my dog Gabriella and my clients and anyone else that I wanted to with this one little device, and that I could run programs all day long until the battery wore out, I was just like, I'm in. I am so in. But here's the best news. Ray told you that it's FDA cleared for pain in the US, and it is. In Europe, it's also has a medical clearance for anxiety and depression. And I had, of course, an opportunity to test it out. I had recurring depression episodes for 25 years. To say that it's sucked up a good portion of my life would be not an exaggeration. So now I have the Healy and I have mental balance programs. And I literally could feel, this is the first winter, I could feel this chemical reaction that normally took place, this downward spiral that normally happened right before a depressive episode would kick in. And those episodes could last anywhere from a day to 3 months. I never knew. Well, guess what? I grabbed my Healy, I did a mental balance scan, and in an hour and a half with only 2 programs, I stopped that depressive episode in its tracks. In its tracks. I cried. I couldn't believe it. I felt normal. So when I say that Healy gave me my life back, I'm not kidding. I have now gone through 2 years without crashing. That is a miracle in and of itself. So while it helps tremendously, thank you, Ray, while it helps tremendously with pain and a lot of different physical ailments, it is working on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels, all 4 at the same time. So it is doing so much for you. So if you know anyone that's having anxiety, depression, any type of mental illness, please, please, please let them know about this, because you could be saving their lives. My brother committed suicide the day before his Healy arrived. I don't want anyone else to have that experience. And all day, the day he died, my adopted mother kept looking at me and saying, why are you still alive? Why is he gone and why are you still alive? Because she knew how much I dealt with mental health issues. And I said, because I didn't stay in the traditional medical model. And because I run the frequencies every day, all day, whenever it's needed. And so that's why I am head over heels madly in love with the Healy. And then they added a coaching module. And I am a health and wellness coach, a life coach. And I got to tell you, this coaching module, there is no coach on this planet that should be working without it. You can find in 6 minutes what it would take 6 months without it. It is phenomenal. David mentioned earlier, I think Ray too, the accuracy of this, it's uncanny. So when you're dealing with the mind, when you're dealing with subconscious programs, which is what you're working with when you're coaching someone, you're clearing old patterns that get passed down generationally. It takes time to get people to have the level of trust that they need to be able to share with you what's really going on. And then they still don't believe you. But when you can get in 6 minutes a printout of exactly what's going on in their subconscious mind, in their belief system, and they read it, they go, oh my God, how did that know? How did that little thing know? Well, it's just reading your field. Information's all there. So it will bring forward what they're afraid to talk about. It will bring forward what they aren't even aware of because it's in the subconscious, not the conscious mind. So now, not only am I in love with the Healy, I am literally having a love affair with the Healy coaching module. And I cannot wait for every coach out there to have one of these in their hands because we are going to raise consciousness one frequency at a time in a really fast way.
That's great. Thank you, Lori. I'm going to quickly do a demonstration to show people what it actually does, because I really think the hands-on, being able to see it in action is what really is compelling. So this is the Healy itself here, just very small. You can clip it to your shirt like I did. In this case, I have these 2 wires that are plugged into it, and just the battery inside is doing the microcurrent frequencies at very specific hertz. You'll see that in a second. And it's going to electrodes that are hooked to your wrists, just these bracelets, right? Or you can actually use these kind of electrodes that can stick on your skin. So for instance, if you have shoulder pain, you could put a electrode on either side and run the frequencies right through the shoulder, and that's where it's FDA cleared for pain. So that's one way we can run the frequencies. Another cool way is we can unplug that, and then here we actually have a Tesla coil. In fact, there's 2 Tesla coils. You can probably see that there's a coil of wire in there, okay, if I tip it just right in the light. And so Tesla was able to transmit energy between 2 coils through time and space, and that's what we're doing here. These little prongs here will just plug right in where the wires would go, and now you have a wireless Healy, and it's a different type of application. The wires are going through the cells and the water in your body, because obviously water conducts electricity, and it's running those frequencies through all those cells in your body, and the Healy is adjusting and changing frequencies to get all that in balance. This is more about into your bioenergetic field and balancing the energy in that bioenergetic field, or sometimes called an EMF field, around your body. And it's a little more subtle. And we can run these back to back to back all day long. So you can run frequency programs all day long with the coil. And it's very convenient because you don't have wires hanging on you. The wires are a little more intense and a little different biological type of application. But Healy would say to only run these kind of programs maybe 3 or 4 times at the most in a day, and to put several hours of rest in between applications. So if you want, what I try to do is a couple programs with the wires every day and several with the coil every day. And you can do that with you and your whole family and even your pets. I'm going to put this back on with the wires so I can give you a little demonstration of how we would run a program. So for that, we control our Healy with either a smartphone. Here's just my iPhone I'm going to use, or a tablet. You can use an iPhone or an iPad or an Android phone or a tablet. And I'm just going to share screen. I can share my phone screen here so you'll be able to see exactly what I'm doing with the programs. Okay, so here you can see we have several different apps for the Healy. We're going to concentrate on these 2 today. First of all, we're going to go in a little different order. We're going to show you the one where we can actually do scans. The Heal Advisor Analyze app is how I typically each day will go in and do a scan to see which frequency programs I am most resonant with. And the Healy will know, because it's checking your bioenergetic field to see which frequencies are low or low energy or out of balance with each other. and it knows which frequency programs you will need to balance it out. You see, we can do what's called aura analysis or coaching analysis or resonance analysis. I'm just going to show you the resonance analysis today and choose myself as the client. And you can have a client can be a person or an animal or even a plant. You can do frequency work with a lot of different things. So I turn on the Healy, make sure it's blinking there. It's going to find it by Bluetooth. I just select that Healy serial number and it connects. And now what you're going to see is that there's a focus of it says, with what do I have the greatest resonance now? Meaning, what frequencies do I need the most out of these frequency programs? All right, so here we go. I can go to the database selection, and you're going to see all these different databases. We can do things like Alaskan gem elixirs and Australian bush flowers and Bach flower remedies, homeopathics. Then we have all these programs where we can do microcurrent type programs, animal, beauty, deep cycle, gold cycle, meridians, power of 3, sleep programs, just tons of stuff. I'll show you that in the other app in a second. I Ching is traditional Chinese medicine, Schussler salts, vital substances. What I typically will do in a day is go right here to all Healy programs, do a scan. It's not actually scanning my thumbprint. I'm touching my thumb there. It's just to basically tell the Healy, hey, I'm ready for you to scan. And it's bringing up that I have like gold cycle programs, fitness programs, power of 3. These are the program group names. There's anywhere from 4 to 12 programs in each of these titles. And it'll always bring up the top 5. So bioenergetic harmony 1 and skin programs. So gold is number 1, fitness is number 2. I'll just show you if I were doing this at the beginning of a day, I would go and do both of those. So I go David, go to the database, go to Healy Gold Cycle programs. There's 7 programs in this group, but when we do these scans, it always finds the top 5 that are most resonant. Pure is about detoxing the body. That's number 1 for me. Care, energy, relax, and balance. And there's descriptions in the Healy manual, which is you can even access right from the app here, that tell what all of these different programs actually are for. But what I know now is that Pure is the number 1 program in the number 1 program group for me. But I would typically go in and also do that second one, for instance. I would go to fitness, Healy fitness programs. And there's 8 programs in this group. And you'll see the types of programs here in a second. Weight, performance, strength, circulation, and muscle. This is the time where you say, how did the Healy know that I was overweight? But performance, strength, circulation, and muscle as well. So the Healy knows that there's some imbalance here that it wants to address. Now I can do frequency programs, radionics from here, meaning vibrational frequencies, by just hitting actions, vibrate, selecting a transmission period. I'll go a slower period here, or less of a time period here. And what it's doing is it's actually sending frequencies to my bioenergetic field right now, but this is doing it through quantum space. This is a way we can actually even do these remotely. When you set up someone as a client in your Healy, it's quantum entanglement. I don't understand it, but we know it works. You can send frequencies to someone even if they're not in the same area as you, even on the other side of the world from you. And you notice that it has the blue wavy line like it was when it's scanning me, and the pink wavy line means it's sending information into my field. So it's important to understand how it's doing both. It's still scanning my system as it's applying the frequencies and adjusting for me specifically. So what I typically would do, well, let me show you one other thing. These other program groups that you see in here are, some of these do not have a corresponding program we could run with the wires that I'm going to show you in a second, like these Alaskan gem elixirs and Bach flower remedies, but we can do these vibrational ones like I just showed you, and we can vibrate those into the quantum field and into our bioenergetic field. Even things, many of you are probably familiar with Bach flower remedies. It's kind of like a homeopathic remedy with different emotional components to it, homeopathics for the psyche and so on. So let's go over what was number 1 for me, Gold Cycle and the Pure program. That was the most resonant program for me right now. The Healy says I need to do some work there. So I'm going to go over to the regular Healy app where we can do microcurrent. And we'll open that up. I'll turn on the Healy again so it can connect by Bluetooth right here. And can cancel that and go back. So here's that Gold Cycle. Oops, maybe I turned it off. Oh, it's turned on. Connect to Healy. Okay. So let's just really quick look at what the programs are. We have Gold Cycle. Pure was the one that I'm supposed to run right now. We have pain programs. These are the 2 FDA cleared pain programs. We have learning programs. You can see memory and concentration, and even stress. Fitness programs, like we saw, I was scanning within those earlier. Job and sleep, mental balance, beauty and skin, bioenergetic harmony 1. This is interesting. When I first got my Healy, I was having an issue with numbness in my hand right here. This pinky, or this pointer finger, and a little bit of my thumb was just really numb. And I play piano. My degree's in piano performance, so I did not like having that numbness. And the Healy scans I would do would always coming up very often with bioenergetic harmony 1, and the #1 program was nerves. Somehow the Healy could tell, that knew there was an imbalance there, and it worked. You know, I have total feeling back in with no numbness anymore. And the other program I got a lot was sciatica local. And in that case, you would put these adhesive electrodes on either side of the sciatica nerve. For me, it's on the left side where I have that shooting pain. And whether I was having an episode of it or not, if the Healy could sense the imbalance, I would run that program. And I'll tell you now, it's over 2 years later, I've only had 1 episode of sciatica, where I used to have it every, at least once a week. It would flare up for a day or two every week. But now I got a whole 2 years with just 1 flare up when we were moving and doing a lot of bending and lifting and crouching and stuff. So that's a couple of my testimonials. And then we've even noticed a lot of emotional things. You see their programs earlier, you saw mental balance and learning and job, and those are all some more emotional type programs. Meridians are those energy pathways in the body that you might attribute to acupuncture, right? And then we have chakra programs, which are those energy centers in the body, bioenergetic defense, bioenergetic support, bioenergetic vitalization. There's just a lot of things. I'll just go. Digital nutrition is cool. These are all these nutritional mixtures for different aspects that you may have. You know, the nutritional frequencies have been recorded, and you're giving that to yourself into your field nutritionally or digitally. And really cool here is where you can work with a time waiver frequency expert, one of these guys that have the $40,000 machines, and they can make an individualized program just for you and download it to your Healy, and then you own that program forever. So let's just show you really quick what it looks like to run something. I'll run this program here just for the gastrointestinal system with the digital nutrition. This says it'll be about a 33-minute application, showing me to use the electrodes on the wrist, or it says it can also be used with the coil. In this case, I want to show you with the wrist electrodes. I hit start. First thing it does is it transfers over all those frequencies that they have recorded that have to do with the gastrointestinal system, with these digital nutrition program in this case. You see it's doing 224 hertz right now. And then after 10 seconds, it'll change to a different frequency, 541 hertz. And it's going to keep changing every 10 seconds. And it is, like you saw in the other program, it's scanning my field as it's applying these frequencies, 920.8 hertz. And so it's adjusting. If me and Ray and Lori and you were to all run the same exact program at the same time, it would actually select different frequencies for each of us. There may be a set of frequencies, there might be dozens or hundreds of frequencies, but it's going to just pick out the top 4, 5, 6, 7, just a group of frequencies and kind of rotate through those, the ones that you need the most. This little red dot's going to go around here for about 33 minutes so I can see where we're at in the program. But this black line means I'm not getting very good conductivity and the frequencies are not flowing well through the cells and water in my body. So what I want to do is increase the intensity here. When I get up to about 35, 40%, I feel a little sense of energy in my hands and fingers, a little tingling. And notice that the line went white. So there's frequencies flowing and energy and electricity basically flowing through my body between these two electrodes. Look what happens if I unplug one. It goes black. I've interrupted that circuit because my body is part of the circuit and those frequencies are flowing through my body. All right, so that's basically what I do. I could leave that going. In fact, I will leave that going. I'm just going to run that program while we're working here. Let me quickly now go over and show you guys how I'm going to share my computer screen so you can see how we use a Healy and what they cost, the different editions and so on. So here we go. First of all, there are 5 different editions of the Healy at 5 different price points. And it's the same hardware for each edition. It's just the difference is what frequency programs do you have. You saw that I had lots and lots and lots of pages of programs. And I had the ability to do resonance analysis and R analysis and coaching analysis. And there's, it's determining which ones you have access to. So if you need to start with a lower edition that has fewer programs, you can. And later, if you upgrade to a higher edition, you don't have to get a whole new Healy. It's the same hardware. It's just a software upgrade. Okay, so that's really cool. You don't have to send your Healy back, and you can upgrade it anytime. You do get a 14-day money back guarantee from the day you receive your Healy, so you can play with it all you want, see if you can make it not work. And it's very, very rare that someone ever returns a Healy. These are examples just of how many different program groups there are and app modules. And some of those you can see the parentheses are the number of microcurrent programs that we could run in this app that I'm running right now. And as many as 294 programs, 148 in the program groups, another 146 in the app modules. The lowest price edition, as an example, is called Healy Gold, and it is about $500. And it just has 11 microcurrent programs in the Gold Cycle. Remember, Gold Cycle Pure was my #1 program to be running right now. And bioenergetic support and the 2 FDA cleared pain programs. And the one app module is one we didn't talk about. It's actually where you can do a Heal Advisor search. And this is really cool because people will say, well, what programs do I run if I have cystic fibrosis? And you can go into this Heal Advisor search, you type in cystic fibrosis, and it searches a time waiver database of all these thousands of therapists that have developed this database. And it says, if you have cystic fibrosis, here's a list of the programs you would want to run. And it might be 5 programs, it might be 15 programs, but it'll make you a list of them based on the Healy edition that you have. And that comes in every single edition. The far extreme, most expensive Healy is about $4,000, and that has 216 different microcurrent programs in all of these categories, plus these app modules, which some of these have microcurrent programs as well. So it's a big jump from 11 programs and 1 app module to 216 programs and 6 app modules. But what's good to know is that when you purchase this, you own it for life. There's no monthly fee. There's no yearly fee. You're not paying any kind of a subscription. You own these programs for life in your Healy. So in between, you can see there's other additions. We go from Gold, which had 11 programs, to Holistic that adds Bioenergetic Harmony 1 and 2 and Mental Balance and Meridians 1 and 2. That's a whole bunch more programs, I guess 52 more programs to give you a total of 63. When you go to the Resonance, which would normally be 1,500 or so, now you're adding that ability to do the resonance scans, like I was showing you how I would see which programs I should run. So most people try to start at Resonance or higher if they can. But you also have all these other programs like the very popular Fitness, of course, and the rest of the pain programs, the sleep programs. When you go to Resonance Plus, you get the Success Coach module that Lori loves. So I'm sure she doesn't ever have anyone go any lower than a Resonance Plus. And the Aura module, Skin, Learning Deep Cycle. And if you can go to Professional now, you get Digital Nutrition, Bioenergetic Vitalization. Those are both app modules too. Digital Nutrition will not only do like these programs I'm showing you here where it's recorded the frequency information, but you can search within there for which programs do I need for this issue that I'm having, but it'll also make you a grocery list of the foods you should eat to also enhance the frequency work that you're doing. Beauty and Job and Bioenergetic Defense are 3 more program groups. So that's the stair stepping up of the different programs that we have. Now in the month of August, we're doing a pretty cool promotion where the Gold is not discounted, but all 4 of these other editions are half price. So we've had plenty of people pay $4,000 for a Healy Professional Edition because they want it all. Well, you can get it for half of that at about $2,020. And but again, I wouldn't start lower than a Resonance. Or really, we wouldn't want to start lower than a Resonance Plus because you really are going to want to use that coaching module. Right, Lori? That's right. Okay. Lastly, I want to just point out that the Healy coil that I showed you, that Tesla coil, which is very, very convenient, It is an accessory, so that's an additional almost $225. And then we have the ability to be a member. Ray talked about this. He said he was told you need to be a member. It's free. It doesn't cost anything to be a member. It just means now you can participate in our referral program. You can refer others to Healy and earn commissions. You can earn a free Healy Resonance Plus edition. And we believe that this is going to be the next multi-billion-dollar company in the network marketing type of industry, and you can have a piece of that. So when I saw this, when Dr. Allen, this holistic doctor that I know, told me about the Healy, I bought it on the spot just from her recommendation because I love and trust her. But it took me 5 weeks to get my Healy because they were back ordered. It was May of 2020, and they had just been released in the United States, and it was the beginning of COVID. It was hard to get stuff over here from Germany, and it took me 5 weeks to get my Healy. In that 5 weeks, I just started sharing this information and sold 14 of these Healys before I even set my eyes on a Healy in person. So I knew we had something here because I was just talk to people and say, have you ever heard of this idea of energy and frequency? And some did and some didn't, but I explained what it was and then showed them how the Healy worked. And they're like, wow. Or I would get them on a Zoom meeting or something like this. And so if you are looking for an income stream, this is a great business. In my case, it's allowed my wife and I to both leave our jobs at a university. This is our sole source of income, and we sold our house and we live in an RV and we travel around the country. Today we're in Mesa Verde, Colorado. Next week we'll be in the sand dunes up by Alamosa, Colorado, and then we're going to head back east. So we do this business while we travel, and it's pretty cool. I'm going to stop sharing now. And Ray and Lori, did we have any interesting questions in the chat or any people that wanted to share?
We're just outside of 45-minute time frame, and we must have done a really good job of answering the questions along the way, because I've not seen any additional questions here in the chat.
Okay.
So I just wanted, could I add something?
Yes, please do.
You mentioned the Bach flowers and the bush flowers and the gem elixirs that are in the resonance edition that we don't really have pink dot microcurrent frequency programs for, but sending that into the information field is like a gentle rain coming down upon your body. And once we understand that everything is energy, we understand that our physical symptoms are energy, our emotions, our thoughts, everything is energy. So I was actually doing a demo like you just did in one of my team meetings early on. And this gal had developed back pain. It just came on really suddenly. She had been gardening, came in, and her back hurt. Hadn't done anything, hadn't tweaked it. And so I just did an analysis, but I intuitively flipped into the Bach flowers or the bush flowers, one of those, and started running those. And in 20 minutes, the back pain went away. Mm-hmm. Because every single emotion that came up in the Bach flowers was exactly what was going on emotionally for her. So we could have been sitting here treating the pain, but we wouldn't have gotten to the root cause. Mm-hmm. So once we got in and cleared and rebalanced the root emotional causes, the pain went away. And that is so important to understand. And to me, that's part of the magic of this device, is that it is working in all those fields simultaneously. And any of you out there who have pets, I think it's vitally important to be aware that you can get into your pet's emotional field with this device and find out what's going on with them. And my little girl, Gabriella, is a rescue, and she was afraid of her own shadow when I first got her. And I'm a coach. I know how to work with people, and I just use the same tools in working with her, and I helped her tremendously. But then I started running the Healy on her. And when I pull up those Bach flowers and bush flowers and take a peek into what was going on with her emotionally, it was astounding to me how deep seated those 2 years that she spent in the Amish breeding mill in a chicken coop, how much damage it had done to her emotional system. And I started running these programs on her for 26 minutes a pop, sometimes 56 minutes. And all of a sudden, a few weeks later, I'm outside walking her, and my neighbors, 2 or 3 of them, stopped me along the way and said, "What are you doing to that dog?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "She's so much more friendly. She's so much more bubbly. She's so much more engaging. Her little personality's coming out." That all happened. They didn't know I had a Healy. They didn't know what I was doing. That all happened because the Healy started to release all that trauma and gave her permission to just let her be, to be who she really is. And she is the most amazing, lovable, friendly, kind dog now. And I'm just telling you, it's a godsend to be able to, short of hiring an animal communicator, you can actually take a peek in there yourself.
That's great. One thing I realized that I did not say earlier is that we do even offer a financing option for the Healy. So that's something to keep in mind if the cost seems prohibitive to you and you want to start with a higher edition. And if your credit is decent, you can do a financing plan. And the other thing to think about is with this discount here, it's just August 1st now. We have the whole month of August where you can get them for 50% off the top 4 editions. But if you want to be a member with us, you can offer that same discount to the people you know, or the people you meet, or the people that you find on the internet. I don't care how you find them and show them the Healy, but you can give them this 50% discount. It's going to make it very easy for you to sell several Healys, make potentially hundreds or thousands of dollars this month, earn a free Healy in the process, and you're just going to help a lot of people. So keep that in mind. We normally when you check out, you just use your credit card, or you can do the financing. And just get back with the person that told you all about the Healy here, and they will share whatever information you need, get your questions answered. Do either of you have a last thing to say here before we sign off?
Get the professional, you won't be disappointed. That's all I've been selling.
If you can swing it, get the professional and the coil, right? You want both.
That's right. Absolutely.
You'll have the Mac Daddy of Healys. All right. Well, good night, everybody. We're here every Monday night. So if you want to come back next week, bring some friends, and we can teach them all about the Healy as well. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah,